Good morning, or hello. It might not be morning where you are. I am Natasha, and this is Always Be Crafting, and I am recording this on a Friday morning right before I'm getting ready to go to work. So I only have a little bit of time. I've quickly tried to clear up a little bit of space on my crafting table. I just made 2 bags, and I have another bag in process. So things are a bit chaotic. I always call myself a chaotic maker because I tend to live in a high state of chaos at all times. Yeah, I don't pan across my table because it is too much, and I don't think an audience of any kind would feel soothed by seeing that level of chaos. It is okay for me because I am not triggered by that, but you might be triggered by that. So I don't want to trigger anyone. But I will turn the camera around and I will angle it down just at my workspace that is kind of clear, and you will see what I'm working on. But let me show you really quickly. I did set it aside. Where did I set it aside? So this is what I mean by working in a state of chaos. I could have sworn I pulled out my my example. Oh, it's right in front of me. All right, so this is what we're making today. It's a spin drum. Now, I had made one about a month ago for the turn of the Lunar New Year. I had one side had a rabbit for last year and one side had a dragon for this year. The material in this spin drum is slightly different. We are using them as groggers because next week in the Jewish calendar, we are celebrating a holiday called Purim. And when we tell the story of Purim, there is a character in the story that is a very bad man. His name is Haman. And when we say his name, we have to boo and make lots of noise to kind of drown out his name. Because it's important that his name is said in the telling of the story, because you can't tell the story without the villain of the story. But you don't want to celebrate the villain, so you want to drown out his name. So you say, Haman, boo, and you stomp your feet and make lots of noise. So anyways, so that's what the groggers or spin drums in this case are for this year. And we're doing the craft project tonight, and I want the kids to be able to kind of make their own, but I want to do the setup for them. So it's the kids range in age from 1 to I think 7-ish is usually about the oldest. So I want them to have fun doing the artsy part and not the building part as much this time. Every month we do a different craft project, and I look for different skill building. This month is really going to be more about they're going to be putting the beads on and they're going to be decorating. So I'm going to build the round and the stick. I'm going to build that together. All right, you want to see? I will turn you around. Okay, so looking at my materials here, this is what I've got going on. Get myself comfortable. I made a bit of a cheat sheet. So this was a piece of watercolor paper, and I've made a few notes for myself. So this is the measurement of, well, I'm going to say 2 times the ribbon. So this is basically half the cut for my ribbon. This was my cuts for my stick. Originally, I thought my stick was going to be cut, these 2 little cuts would be cut from the main length. These are my sticks. They were, can you see these? Craft DIY. They're just little dowels. I think they, gosh, it doesn't say on the tag. I thought it did. I think they're like 1/8 diameter, 1/8 inch diameter, I think is what they are. They're bought on Amazon. They're very thin and very easy to break. So I was afraid that if I left them at their full length, which is approximately 12 inches. Yeah, that's 12 inches. They're just under 12 inches. I was afraid the kids would break them too easily, so I wanted to cut off a bit. About, how much was that cutting off? I didn't even use a ruler when I was making these cuts, almost 4 inches. I was just kind of testing it out, feeling out what I thought would be good. So yeah, that makes sense. I usually go for about an 8-inch stick. So it makes sense that I aimed that at about 4 inches. You know, my eyeball knows. So I just use my piece of paper, and also from this piece of paper up here, I have the mark for where I'm cutting my tape. And this is the foam tape, this stuff, foam mounting tape. And also you can see I cut out the circle. I had traced a coaster. These are the coasters that we're using. Also, I believe my director bought these on Amazon as well. The preschool director where I teach. She's the one who picks up the materials. And I cut out a circle, you know, the same size as that. And then I folded it 2 times to get a quadrant so I could make a center mark. All right, so I line up my stick against that. I just use my fingers because nothing needs to be exact. And then scissors, non-sewing scissors, just to make a mark and kind of get it started. So I just kind of rub it up against. That's where my fingernail kind of pokes into that little hole. And then I just kind of bend it back and forth until I get a nice break. Very easy, right? Okay, so that's my stick done. My string. Ta-da! I'm going for a thinner string. I've got lots of different ribbons in my collection. So I just picked out my skinniest ribbons. And then again, I realized all my ribbons are fairly long. I think they're all about 2 feet long, but cutting them in half was just too long of a ribbon to make it spin, to get that nice spinning action on the spin drum. So that's why there's going to be a little bit of waste on this. So I make that mark, fold it in half, and then fold that in half. And that gets me. So I'm going to have this much left over. I'm going to cut 2 strings. Same pair of scissors. Cut that, and then halfway. So now I have 2 strings, and I have this much left over, which is just over 4.5 inches long. That's just more string than I need, because again, I want just the right amount of string coming out on each side to get the good spin action that I need. Okay, so that's 2 strings. Since I'm doing 2 strings, let's do 2 sticks. It's kind of nice to set up. And when I do this, when I set up the other ones, because I have, of course, set up most of them already, I'm just doing 2 more right now. It's kind of nice to assembly line them, if you will. Do all the sticks, do all the strings, do all the cardboard circles, and then it just goes faster. The coasters, I noticed, have one side that's a bit more flat and one side that's a bit more domed. So I go for the flat side. I line up my circle. I take my pen and I mark. Okay. I rotate and line up one of my lines on that again. Pull it down, line up my line, rotate my circle, come down. Is that a perfect X? No, it's not perfect. Does it need to be perfect? No, it does not need to be perfect. Okay, I'm going to do one more since I'm doing 2. You only need to mark an X on one side of your spin drum, because you're going to have 2 of these come together. One's a top that's just going to get put on. It does not need the X marks the spot on the inside. It does not need that crosshatch. You're just doing this to line up because you want to get the stick and the string as centered as possible. Okay, so we've got 2 circles. Now we need some glue cuts. So I turn my paper here, so I have my tape mark. I had it, that's just where it made the most sense for me. Peel my tape. And I put my first tape on across one of those hatch marks, like that. Okay. Take one of my strings and one of my sticks. tie it around, and now I want it to be kind of centered on the string. So I just use my fingers to get the string as centered as possible. I'm not too worried about it being a knot because the tape is going to hold that down. And then I center my stick, or I put my stick on that center line, getting the string over my center mark. Remember, I still have one side showing so I can really see it lining up. Okay, now I can cut my other piece of tape, put it on the other side. Kind of push it up against the stick as much as possible. Peel, pull that string nice and tight. Now I need 2 more pieces of tape to go on top of the string. So each drum needs 4 pieces of tape because it takes 2 pieces of tape to kind of equal the same width as the stick in the middle anyways. Like that. Now, for time, I'm not going to do the second drum, but I would do it exactly the same way. But for the ease of time right now, because I do have to go to work, I'm going to peel this, and then one thing I forgot to mention is I do have a hot glue gun. And the reason I have a hot glue gun is I do want that stick to be extra secure because the stick could still slide out from inside that string, and I don't want the stick to slide. So I put the hot glue there. I want to use the one with the crosshatch, a plain, looking for the flat side. And then I just get it as centered as I can, over and push. It'll probably hold on to some of the glue, but it's really holding on to that mounting tape. Some of the glue, because the hot glue does dry pretty quickly, so that's why I'm not worried if it's holding on to the glue as much. The glue, again, that hot glue is really there to secure the stick, so the stick doesn't slide right out. Because that mounting tape's just holding the string. We need that glue to really secure the stick. I could put a piece of tape in there, but I worry that tape might come loose over time, so I feel like the hot glue is the safest bet. Last step, because these strings are all polyester, I singe the end so they don't come unraveled or, like that is coming loose. Can you see that? So I boop it with my lighter and then I pull it like that. So it is now more tight at the end. It might look a little black, but I don't worry. I don't think it's a big deal. See, now it's like the plastic in it is all sealed up, so we won't have fraying. To put the beads on the spin drum, I think this is in my bag, I use flossers, these things. Okay, got it out of my bag. To get the beads on easily, especially for little fingers, these are flossers, or floss threaders, I guess, technically, that you get in the dental section. So it's basically does the same action as a sewing needle. It's got a big eye, and you can put your string right through that big giant eye. And then you can take a bead, like I have this box of beads, and the kids are going to have lots of different kinds of beads. They're going to have colorful beads. This is just what I have at home. And then it's very easy to put it through and get your bead on. I'll do this as a demonstration for the kids as well, but tie a knot around it, and however they want it to make it, they can add more than one bead. They can add as many beads as they want. It is their drum. It is their spin drum. They can add lots of beads. They can add pens. When I did my my spin drum, this one, I used my Posca markers. So that's what I did, and it is time for me to go to work. So hopefully this will inspire people to make some very quick to make, very easy to make spin drums, and the supplies are pretty easy to find as well. I think the supplies are easy, and I think it's really great. I really like making my own tools, you know, my own cheat sheets. So, you know, how long my ribbon is, how much I'm cutting off my stick, how long I'm cutting my tape, and a place to cut out my circle so I can get my cross marks. So those are my tips and tricks. I hope you have fun making a spin drum so you can play. Have a great day.